Hey, I'm here with Boo. He's just hanging out, I guess. So I just want to tell you my plans for Monster Madness this year. I'm still doing 31 movie reviews like usual, but first I want to say for all those who are big fans of it, if it's something you look forward to every October, let me tell you, I'm right there with you. It's one of my favorite things that I do. Watching a bunch of horror and monster movies and then reviewing them, what could be better? To me, it serves three purposes. One, it's like spreading knowledge of these movies because isn't that the best way to find out about these films is through word of mouth? Talking about horror movies is fun, and with all the movies out there that exist in the world, we need more curators to dig in and pick out all the ones that you might want to know about, whether famous or obscure. Even as a kid, I once wrote a letter to myself. For real. It was 20 years ago. It was to remind myself that one day I must put all this horror knowledge and trivia to good use in some way. I must spread it around to introduce these movies to more people so they can all enjoy them too. And from what lots of you told me, I've succeeded. So, second reason, it's to celebrate Halloween. It's such a special time of year, and I never want October to go by without always being reminded with black cats and, witches and, they want to keep that Halloween spirit alive. Third reason, I'm very nostalgic for those TV horror marathons like TNT's MonsterVISION. That was probably one of the last of its kind, and my generation was lucky enough to still have something like that to hold on to. These type of marathons were something that was popular mostly in the 50s and 60s. They've always played late at night. They're always like some kind of horror host introducing the movies or just a creepy voice. There are always these cheesy graphics popping up on the screen. There still exist some horror marathons, but since the internet, it's not the same. So, bottom line, I love Monster Madness, and I'm still doing one this year, but for the future, I'm facing reality. There doesn't exist enough time in the year to keep doing a full 31 review marathon. Yeah, I know. But I'm still doing one this year, but for 2017 and the future, things need to change. So what made this possible before, for one thing, was that I didn't have to watch all 31 of the movies. I was already very familiar with most of the movies. I would pick movies that I knew, so I didn't have to watch every single one. The ones I needed to refresh my memory on or hadn't seen at all, those ones I would watch. But now I'm running out of those kind of movies. I'll never run out of horror movies. That's impossible. There's tons of them, and every year there's always more coming out. But now it's closer to the point where I have to watch a large majority of the movies that I review. And like I said, that's great. I'll watch 31, I'd love to. But it goes further. I may have to watch more than 31 because not every movie I see inspires me to do a review. Sometimes I'll watch a movie and I don't really have much to say about it, and you don't want to hear that. You don't want me to just sit here and go, well, this movie's okay, I guess. It works better when I have a stronger opinion about something or some kind of interesting trivia. So it takes a while before I find all the right movies. Have you ever seen the movie Short Circuit? There's a robot going around examining everything. He's reading books, he's learning languages at lightning speed, and he's saying input, input, input. That's what I need, is more input as opposed to always output. Not to mention fatherhood makes it a little tougher to watch a lot of horror movies. I still love doing it, but in order to watch 31 movies, multiply that by 2 hours a movie average, I have over 62 hours of movies, and it could be more, and that's just watching them. Then I usually spend a couple hours each researching each movie, gathering facts, writing down notes of things I want to say. Then I turn it into a script, which takes hours to write, and I'm a slow writer. Sometimes I sit and just stare at a blank screen for hours, and then all of a sudden the inspiration hits, and then I start writing. So it's a very unpredictable process. Then, of course, I got to record myself, get all the movie clips or images that I need, and then edit the whole thing. I love it, like I said, but add that all up, and it can take up to half the year to get it all done. So, that's fine, right? I'll take half the year. It's fun. Why not? But think about all the other things that need to be sacrificed. I can't do as much Angry Video Game Nerd. I can't do It's Bullshit. Other things have to be taken off the list. I have every day planned out on my calendar, like these days I'm writing and then these days I'm shooting and so on. every project waits in line. But usually I underestimate the time it takes. So if one day's task turns into 2 days, now I have to add an extra day, which postpones everything else, and the whole calendar gets pushed back. And that's what keeps happening. And the thing is, I'm trying to do everything. I want to do Angry Video Game Nerd. I want to do You Know It's Bullshit. I want to do other movie reviews that aren't horror. And most of all, I want to make original films. Lots of people say, well, get somebody to help. Well, I can't get somebody else to write the review for me. It's an opinionated thing. Imagine if it was somebody else's words and they say, this movie's great, and then I think, oh, well, this movie sucks. So if I'm doing the review, obviously I have to see the movie and write the script. It's all me. Then to record it, I'm the personality, so once again, it has to be me. Then we move on to the editing. Now, about the editing, before, between Godzillathon and 80s-a-thon, Mike was doing the editing. But now he's editing James and Mike Mondays. So that's every Monday throughout the entire year. He's got to get a video done every week. So lately, I've been editing Monster Madness. And hey, editing's my favorite part. You know, aside from all the computer crashes and technical issues. But I love it. I love the cycle, the whole process. And editing is the part I'm best at. I'm really fast when it comes to editing. So the point is, there's not much I can do to really lighten the load. So here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to disappoint anybody, and this will be the 10th year of Monster Madness, so I'm still going to crank out 31 reviews for this year, and it's going to take me all summer, but they're going to be in this format with me on camera, and they're going to be on YouTube, not just Cinemassacre like most of them. In fact, I'm already working on it. That's what I'm doing right now. I am working on Monster Madness full force. But this is going to be the last marathon. And I think it's fitting to end it at 10 years. After all, Monster Madness has lasted longer than MonsterVISION. Isn't that crazy? And that may seem like bad news, but it's going to open up my schedule to do videos on a more consistent basis. It doesn't mean that there won't be any more horror movie reviews. There'll always be horror movie reviews. I'll probably be talking about horror films for the rest of my life. Halloween is always going to be prime time on Cinemassacre. I'll now be free to celebrate in ways that I may have never been able to before. I could do something totally different. Even come out with an original horror film, finally. The possibilities are endless. There could still be some horror movie reviews for Halloween, maybe even a mini Monster Madness. I think the Monster Madness name will live on in some form. The future is undetermined. Come to think of it, not every year was 31. 80s-a-thon was only 15. Last year we did 31, but 20 of them were scripted, and the other 11 were no script, and with Mike joining me. And that was the only way we were able to get them done. What I'm excited about is the chance to do more movie reviews throughout the year and not always having to stick to horror. Imagine having more movie reviews spread out rather than blasting 31 out all in 1 month, which has been great, but still. I know that Monster Madness has always been a tradition. It's something to look forward to come back to every October. But think back to how it started. It was originally meant to be a one-off thing. It was a history of horror, like a Horror 101. But it went over so well that the next year I decided to give you a history of Godzilla. And after that, it just became a grab bag of all horror movie reviews. And the reviews got longer and more in-depth. And after that, we all got used to it. We assumed it would happen every year from then on. I go to conventions sometimes and fans come up to me and say, hey, I can't wait for Monster Madness this year. And that means a lot to me, that everybody's looking forward to it. So that's why I want to give you all a heads up on what's happening sooner rather than later. Bottom line, this coming October, just to reiterate, it will be the 10th and final Monster Madness, at least the last one to be a full 31 review marathon. This is not taking away from anything. Think of all the other projects that can now happen. Projects that are in my head that no one even has any idea about yet. I'll still be working my ass off just the same. This is not cutting any time out of the year. It's only using the time differently.